All right, so here's how Twitter works, right? Twitter, we've got our little blue bird here. Oh, shit, that's not blue. I want my blue bird. Here we go. We got our little blue bird here. I don't know. What's a bird look like? Fuck. Peep. Here's the Twitter. I don't even know. I don't even remember what the Twitter logo is. I am not a graphic designer. Please remember that. All right, so we've got our Twitter, right? This is how Twitter works. The way that Twitter does things is that it's always, there's one thing that rules out over everything on Twitter, right? Ads. This is the only thing that matters to Twitter. That is all that they give a shit about. Everything else is secondary. So you need to remember that. Ads are number one, just like Smitty Werberman Jensen. Remember, he was number one. You have to remember. And all of you, every single person here in my chat right now, which, wow, we have a lot of people in here. Hello. Yes, actually, Mightiest Wood, believe it or not, Twitch chat is different. Do you want to know why? Because of what I just did there. So you posted something in chat, and I immediately responded to it. And then you could then respond afterwards, and it will be what's called a dialogue. This thing that humans do where one person talks, and then another person talks, and then another person talks. And sometimes it takes a little while, but they usually come to some level of understanding, or they go their separate ways and call it good. On Twitter, what happens is you put out a take, and then the Twitter machine says, is this an ad? Well, maybe it could be an ad. So Twitter can't just be an ad platform, right? Because nobody would go on Twitter if it was really a site that was 100% about ads. So what they do instead is they go, hey, Twitter is social media. So Twitter is a social media site, except you always have to remember that it's always about ads at the end of the day. Everything else is incidental to ads. What this leads to, the fact that Twitter's focus is always on ads, leads to the fact that Twitter is centered around engagement. I know, I'm putting lots of words on the screen. Engagement. My brain is failing. All right. So engagement is the way that they go, okay, this is how we drive ads. See, because good content is good content in the eyes of Twitter. Engagement equals good. Doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, it's just good. If people are touching, engaging, liking, and retweeting, that's a good thing. Do you want to know why that's a good thing? That's considered a good thing because this platform is a platform about ads. It's a platform about getting ads to get lots of engagement because ads are about lots of people seeing it. Whether they like it or not, the more people who see an ad digest the ad and then are likely to purchase the product. And I'm sorry if I'm not engaging with stream quite as much during this segment because I just want to explain the basics of Twitter. Okay? So, engagement is good because ads are number one. From there, you get the philosophy of how the website works. You notice how there's no editing tools on Twitter. There's no way to put a warning. Like, what if you were, imagine if you're like a journalist, right? And you write let's say you write a really, really, like an article that just turns out to be inaccurate because you made a mistake or something. You can't go back and change the original tweet that people retweeted and shit. You have two options. One, leave it as it is, or two, delete it completely. Now, what if your article that may have had some inaccuracies that needed to be corrected is actually still overall pretty interesting and gets the conversation going? Well, you're not going to want to delete that tweet, are you? No, you're going to want to go, shit, I put so much work into this article. I don't want to delete that tweet. And I can't edit it, so I need to put out more tweets. But often, as we all know, the following tweets, the less interesting, exciting tweets, despite the fact that those tweets, those corrections are good, they're not engagement. They're not going to get a lot of engagement because they're just corrections. So that means that in Twitter's eyes, corrections or adjustments or details are not good. They don't get you engagement, which means... Oh, see you later, Nono Jakarazi. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, so Twitter's Now, Twitter's obsession with engagement goes so far as to break threads. So say that you're on Twitter and you have your little, let's see, how do we do this? Let's get a green little person here. We got the little woo. Here's the person. And then we have their little name, their little square box. And then they got their tweets. Let's say it's 1 out of 200. Now, this is something a lot of people don't think about. Wait, that looks terrible. There we go. 1 out of 200. Now, this is something a lot of people don't think about when they're on Twitter, because Twitter doesn't tell you that it does this. It is just part of what is accepted as part of Twitter. Twitter will say, hey, here's tweet 1 out of 200. This was the first tweet, which got lots of engagement. We'll put engagement points in a gold star. Bing, you got a gold star, lots of engagement. Then you have you'll actually see this on Twitter sometimes. There will be like 3, wait, how do I do this? Let's do black, big, here we go, ... and then there will be tweet number 2, which is like, here's number 2. There's something a little strange about this tweet though. Here we go. Got our tweet coming in, squiggle, 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 squiggle. 30 out of 200. And this one also has a star because this one's getting a lot of engagement. And you don't know why this is getting lots of engagement. But imagine what happens if they wrote something really spicy in tweet number 30 out of 200. Here, we're going to scooch this over just a tiny, tiny bit so that everybody can see the stars. This is what happens. Twitter will break a thread that might be super insightful and have lots of really fucking good things to say because one line out of the 30th tweet in a 200 tweet thread will be spicy. So what if this one is really spicy, but in context, it's not that spicy? Out of context, this is what people see. And then what you have is 1 million people reacting to this tweet. Oh, you guys can't see that here. Let me just, how do I do this? There you go. Here. Do you see the red? Can you see the red? Can we see the red over here? Shit, this is so bad. This is so scuffed. I don't know how to make this better. Here we go. There we go. So you will have hundreds of people reacting to this tweet in particular, the 30th tweet in the 200 tweet thread, and maybe you have some people reacting to this one as well, but you have almost no one reacting to the whole thread, which, I mean, there's 2 ways you can conclude this. I mean, the first one, oh, I'm getting some notifications. I should probably close this shit, huh? There we go. Quit. There we go. Reading a full Twitter thread, yeah, it's almost impossible, and it's even harder now that they've gone to the new mobile one, which not everybody has. But I'm telling you, it's getting worse. They're making it worse. Listen to me. Twitter, it's fucked. Okay, so you have people reacting to these tweets, right? Now, you might say, oh, well, whatever, it's tweets. Well, what if this person is talking about a really important issue? Like, what if they're talking about something like, I don't know, like transphobia? Wait, that's not the right one. Hey, purple, transphobia. What if they're talking about transphobia or racism? See, these are very important topics, but all that Twitter cares about is this, ads. All they care about is ads. They want to drive no matter what because that's what makes them their money. That's what brings them money. Ka-ching. Oops. Wow, I really messed that one up. Here, let's make it bigger so I don't have to have as much fine motor movement. Blam. See, this is what gets them their profit. So they're going to design every system to focus this, which means a focus on engagement, which means any serious topics that you're talking about. Transphobia, racism, intersectionality, class, all of these things, if you try to express them, they're big concepts that are hard to understand sometimes. I mean, but for the most part, they have a lot of nuance to them that have to be explained in a lot of words. And you have to do that not only with a character limit, but you also have to do that while fighting against this, the fact that engagement will always break your threads. People will be served this tweet. You have no control over this. When you log into Twitter and you make a hot take, you have no control over which one of those show up on your friends' walls. That's like fucking Facebook shit. But on your friends' feeds. You have no control over your feed. None. You can follow people, but the algorithms determine which of the tweets of those people get served to you. And without a doubt, the tweets with the most engagement, positive or negative, will be the ones that show up on your wall. How many times have you gone onto Twitter and the only thing that you can do, the only thing that you can see in like 3 fucking scrolls is just your friends arguing? Like people who you know or who you're colleagues with, and you happen to follow 2 of them, and they're arguing, and Twitter serves you every single fucking one of those because there's people from each of their audiences or their friend groups or whatever liking those tweets, which is giving them lots of engagements. So all you get subjected to is the stupidest, most asinine arguments between your friends, fucking limited to 200 characters or 240 characters. It's stupid. It's a... Like, can you not see how this is like when people say that Twitter is a mind virus? Like, it literally is. It's designed to fuck with your head. I mean, it's not intentionally designed to fuck with your head, but one of the side effects of this type of design, this all engagement equals good design, is that it's going to push forward the most contentious content, no matter who you are, no matter how nice you are, no matter how good and good your opinion is, no matter how much quality you put into your work. The thing that's going to get the most attention is whichever one prompts the most immediate emotional reaction. Imagine if you were hanging out with your friends and you were just talking with your friends and you're like, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how I feel about, Philly cheesesteaks. And then somebody was like, wait, what the fuck? And every single friend had their opinion on Philly cheesesteaks. And as a result, the only conversation you could have for 3 days was talking about fucking Philly cheesesteaks. That's the Twitter model. That's how Twitter fucking works. It goes, oh, here's a thing that everybody can react to. The most contentious thing, whatever thing is an easy opinion, could be something literally as simple as a fucking sandwich. Anything that prompts an immediate emotional reaction is going to be instantaneously rewarded and then thrown onto more people's walls. And this catches. Now, that doesn't mean... Woke, mean lefties made me a reactionary. Broke, Twitter made me a reactionary. People behave like reactionaries on Twitter. Even good people behave like reactionaries on Twitter. Because it is literally a reaction-based platform. Everything is asynchronous, sometimes severely so. There have been like multiple times in the last week where Twitter was literally broken and was not serving up tweets at any logical time. You could get a tweet from 8 hours ago at the same time that you get a tweet from 3 minutes ago. Now, Twitter, keep in mind, did used to be like time-based, but it's still very asynchronous. And you throw in more to the mix, which is you're limited to 240 characters. So, what conclusions can we draw from this? Should we all abandon Twitter and never use it again? Well, I don't think that that's a particularly rational conclusion to come to. Everybody's on Twitter. A lot of people are on Twitter. A lot of people still communicate and find good stuff through Twitter. And they meet people through Twitter. Like, I literally met 3 of my girlfriends. I met all of my girlfriends through Twitter at first. And of course, we made other connections beyond Twitter, but we literally bumped into each other on Twitter. That's pretty cool, right? Like, that's a cool thing. So how do we use Twitter effectively is the answer. And I don't have all the answers. I don't have a full book of how to use Twitter successfully. But I can tell you all one thing. And the thing that you shouldn't fucking do, the last thing you should be doing on Twitter, the absolute thing that you should be doing the absolute least on Twitter is fucking discourse. Specifically discourse about incredibly complicated issues. Just stop. Just motherfucking stop. Please, for the love of God. Stop discoursing on Twitter. And I know, it's hard. Wait, you know what? We could try this. Let's try the big angle now. Because I'm getting toasty. Just stop. Wow, this makes me look really red. Holy shit. It is 1,000,000 degrees in here, so I apologize if I'm literally turning into a demon and actually malding as we speak. It is so fucking hot in here. Like, and I can't open the window because the window goes right out to, like, the walkway, and there's a bunch of kids playing outside and stuff, so. Just stop discoursing on Twitter. I'm serious. If you see a take that you don't like, make a video about it. Or go to Discord, because on Discord, you can have a long conversation with people of multiple types. You could call them and be like, hi, you made a problematic take. Let's hash it out. You could literally just go into their Discord and go blah, 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 and do the exact same thing that you would have done on Twitter, except then they can respond and you have space and time, and it's not got 1,000,000 eyes on it. That's another thing about Twitter that people don't think about. Twitter is like the equivalent of like standing in a public square with a bullhorn and shouting out your opinions. Now, you may know a lot of people who live in your town, right? You might know everybody and whatever, but when you're standing on a box and you're going blah, 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 and everybody is also standing on a box going blah, 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 that's going to get really fucking chaotic really quickly, isn't it? It's true, I am a demon. Thank you. Yes. Okay, Zanzi, this is a thing that used to happen on Twitter, and it's no longer a thing because this is really weird to me that this happened. There used to be a website called Twitlonger, and people would meme about it because it would be like, oh, I made a tweet and somebody wrote a Twitlonger in response. But I'm not kidding you. It would literally be better. Can you imagine if can you imagine if all of this shit that's been going on this weekend had instead been hashed out over like people writing articles? First of all, not only would the world be now full of a whole bunch of cool essays to read, but you would have more success. You would actually reach your goal more. Discourse would be achieved instead of never-ending like cacophony of like unbelievable madness. Yeah, Twitter's, yes, Sanzi, precisely. Twitter is if papers were just headlines. The entire paper, all headlines. Every paper, everywhere, only headlines. And people have to give you a new issue for every single update to that. Imagine if you had to I don't even know, it's so bad. Because it was designed as a status, it was designed to ape the Facebook status, right? Where it's I'm feeling like this right now. And now people are like, let me talk about this incredibly complicated fucking political issue. Tweet 1 out of 900. The threading is going to break 100 times and 600,000 people are all going to see this tweet and react to individual slices of it before they even think about it. That is what we're dealing with on Twitter. I hear you, Gay Fesh, but there's another side of it too, which is that we as people using the platforms, we have to be fucking smarter about what's on there. The thing that I've seen, and this has been again and again and again and again and again and again and again, and I'm going to do there's a thread that I was just watching Chud Logic. Follow Chud Logic. Chud Logic is fucking hilarious and amazing. I was just watching Chud Logic talk about this, and he was going over Dario's tweet thread. So we might do that at some point. Maybe we'll dive in. What? Oh, yeah, I don't think I have a shout-out command yet. I need to, though. But yeah, Chud Logic is just Chud Logic on Twitch. Very good. Twitter... I forgot what point I was at. Oh, yeah. So the thing that happens is that Twitter is a context-sucking machine, which plays really, really well. One of the things we've revisited as a topic on my channel quite a few times is the fact that context is really important to making actual mental growth, to actual political growth, history, context. These things are nuanced. These are 3 little like buzzwords kind of, but that are fucking important to actually make progress. Well, of course, but that's what succeeds on Twitter. The people who are good at Twitter are really good at making tweets that catch on. They're good at making catchy rhetoric, and there is bad catchy rhetoric or negative catchy rhetoric, and there is positive catchy rhetoric. The platform doesn't give a shit. The platform doesn't give a shit because ads are number one. That's why. That's why they don't give a shit at all. And the platform will serve you those tweets. But see, Kill Dodge, that's the thing. People say it's the curse of character limit, but it's actually not just character limit. And the reason why I'm so annoying about telling people that it's not just character limit is because people misjudge. Like, okay, imagine if here's what I'm talking about, I guess. Imagine if people were going into like a fight and they thought they were going to be fighting a house cat. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you're going into the ring with a house cat. You're going to kick this house cat's ass. Obviously, this is a terrible fucking metaphor, but you know what I mean. And instead, they prepared to like, yeah, I'm going to kick this like fucking house cat's ass. And then they walk into the ring and there's a fucking lion in there, right? They're going to get their ass kicked because they will not have gone in with the tactics necessary to deal with a lion. In the same way, talking about just character limit means that people miss big parts of Twitter that actually contribute to problems. And of course, at the end of the day, it's just Twitter. But as we know, everyone is on Twitter right now. Everyone's in quarantine. Twitter is, a huge place. It's a giant advocacy space. Tons of ideas are going around. Content is being shared. Twitter is clearly having a political impact. So I think I think we need to take it seriously. The character limit is only one angle of how Twitter fucks up discussions. And again, that doesn't mean there aren't good things that can be done on Twitter. I think there are really good things that can be done on Twitter. In a certain way, it's socially acceptable gossip, but it becomes much worse than that. Like, regardless of what your conclusions were about, like, the current, like, Vaush drama, what started the Vaush drama on Twitter and where it got really, really virulent and people were being really fucking uncharitable and cruel and horrible to one another, what started that was a 1 minute and 14-second clip of a 40-minute discussion. A very complicated, which, Zanzi, I know you watch it. I watched it. I was there for it. And I was listening to this, and I went, wow, this is a contentious but very interesting discussion. And I can tell somebody is going to clip this. They're going to put 30 seconds of this up, and it's going to cause a shitstorm. Yeah, you were there for it too, Gayfesh. That's exactly. I think that everyone who was there, I hope that, and literally every single person that I've talked to, regardless of their background, and I haven't just talked to white people either, have said, yeah, the conversation was a lot more complicated than the Twitter drama makes it out to be. Yeah, clip and ship does ruin discourse, but there's another part of that, which is that why are people engaging with this clip and ship stuff? Where has the scrutiny gone, right? The left of the online left of all political groups that you think would apply some scrutiny to posts, to things that people say on the internet, are not doing that. There is like oh my God, it's so infuriating. Like, I'm seeing people immediately take a 1 minute clip that is very obviously clipped out of context, then immediately retweeting that clip and saying something like, person is a racist. The same thing happened, exact same shit happened to Contra. In fact, they took a clip. What happened with Contra this weekend is a clip was taken 30 seconds out of like a fucking hour plus video. And then people said, hey, this is what the whole video is about. And honestly, it disgusts me. I find that type of behavior and engaging in it and encouraging it really fucking disappointing. I mean, I understand why people do it. People do it because they can manipulate the message. It is a control tactic. It is a form of propaganda. I just do not understand what possible motivation anybody who calls themselves remotely a leftist or even a person who's interested in political discourse, what do they get from doing things this way? How does this benefit anyone? How does this do anything but damage reputations, cause actual schisms where people actually don't like each other anymore, and cause chaos and misinformation. Also, it makes us fucking vulnerable to actual outside actors trying to fuck up our political advocacy. Yeah, no one ever watches the videos, which is fucking stupid. I'm sorry, but if you are the type of person who is going to watch a 30-second clip and your first reaction is, wow, I should have a very public, very loud, and very uncharitable opinion about somebody, that's my first reaction, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. You're being dumb. You're being dumb. And it makes it worse for everyone. It makes it worse for everyone to do things this way. No one wins. Except for you get a little bit of clout. Maybe. Maybe. And it's fucking ephemeral because you don't get paid by Twitter. Nobody gets paid by Twitter. We're wasting our fucking time. Holy, I told you I was going to get mad. I told you I was going to get fucking pissed about this shit. This website makes me insane, and it doesn't have to, because the website could be used for better things, but all we have to do, the left, all of the people who make up the collective, is that we individually have to start stepping away from the very bad habits that make using Twitter so toxic. Now, certain things of the platform we will never be able to fix. We will never be able to fix the fact that it is a platform built for ads. We will never be able to fix that the dev team is going to prioritize new algorithms that are better for ads over genuine socialization. We're never going to be able to... Oh, shit. Sorry, I kicked my desk. Yeah, it is toxic by design, for sure. Flowery Jane, I agree with you. But... so are many things. We engage, like lefties engage with lots and lots of toxic systems, right? We engage with lots of toxic systems, and in fact, we're winning on lots of toxic systems. We are killing it on Twitch. We are killing it on YouTube. I mean, ironically, I wouldn't really say, I don't think it's possible to win it on Facebook because Facebook is actually completely and utterly compromised to its core. Like, just straight up, they do fucking human experiments on people against their knowledge. Like, Facebook is hell. It's actually horrific. But only boomers are on Facebook anyway, so who fucking cares? It's doomed. It's a sunken ship. Twitter is not a sunken ship. We're failing Twitter because individually, lefties and lefty creators and people who enjoy lefty content are engaging with Twitter in a very, very, very unhealthy manner. It's okay. I'm 30 and I have a Facebook too. I just don't ever have anything to do on there. So I have a Facebook because I have some family members that I'm still connected with and I talk to them. So let me tell you, so from here, I want to hammer this point home a little bit. So I want to illustrate something to you about Contrapoints because I'm going to come out straight up. I have not watched and probably will not watch the newest Contrapoints video. I literally do not give a shit, okay? Contrapoints makes incredibly, incredibly high quality videos. They are not the type of video that satisfies me anymore. At one point in my life, they were one of my favorite videos. I would watch every single one of her videos religiously at one point in my life because I was at a point where the way that she structures her content to introduce people to new concepts in a very deep but entertaining manner was like super helpful to me. But now I'm delving into more complicated stuff. I need to go, like, I need really, really deep analyses to learn something new. That is how learning works. You learn something simple, it's awesome. If you're still interested, you pursue further, and so on and so forth. The way that people treat Contrapoints on Twitter is actually sickening to me. It actually makes me fucking sick. And there's a reason for that. And there's actually, I mean, there's multiple reasons for this. But the first thing is that, like, the only time I've ever actually, like, gotten off Twitter completely, where I was like, I am deleting the app. I'm not coming back to Twitter for, like, fucking as long as I need to detox from this shit, was over Contrapoints drama. And the stupid thing about it was that I actually agreed with the core critique of the people who were fueling the drama. But as time went on, and I was watching this, and I wasn't really commenting on it because I don't really believe that the way that you engage with Twitter is to just instantly react to anything that you see. So I saw people getting mad about, I believe it was Contrapoints' opulence video, where there was a 12-second chunk of video that had the voice of Buck Angel. Okay? Buck Angel is a really, really, really famous trans porn star who has done a whole bunch of advocacy in the past, but these days literally is friends with people like Glinner, like and signs off on the things that they say. As of late, Buck Angel, and not even as of late, for a long time, Buck Angel has engaged in some unironic, genuine, specifically anti-non-binary and extremely trans gatekeeper behaviors, in that, oh, you need to pass or else you're not a valid trans person. These are really like that's a pretty obvious thing to say. Hey, you probably shouldn't just judge trans people on whether they pass or not. Otherwise, you are upholding the same problems that are yeah, exactly. He's what people would refer to as true scum. Like, unironically, this is something very open. He does this frequently, all the time. Natalie, Contrapoints, put 12 seconds of that into a video. 12 seconds of Buck Angel's voice into a video. That was probably not a good move, right? But again, we're talking about 12 seconds of video in a very, very long video that had tons and tons of complicated things to say. And this is by a creator who has devoted their entire career to fighting right-wing, discriminatory, prejudiced thought. Okay? This is the context. I log on to Twitter after watching the video and finding it really moving, and I didn't even notice that Buck Angel's voice was in it the first time. And I go, oh, I saw people talking about Buck Angel, and I was like, oh shit, that's kind of an insensitive move for her to put Buck Angel in a video. And then I started to see some other things. What I saw was a lot of trans people using, first of all, calling Contrapoints transphobic, but then proceeding to call her all kinds of other names. The vitriol I saw was unironically reminded me, and I said this to people, and people got mad at me for it at the time, but it reminded me of fucking Gamergate. It reminded me of Gamergate. It reminded me of people who nitpicked the shit out of Anita Sarkeesian's videos and then freaked the fuck out and had an obsession with Anita Sarkeesian to the point where they were willing to flood her inbox with hate mail you can't even believe. You can go onto Contrapoints videos right now and find death threats. Right now. And some of them are coming from trans people. Some of them are coming from people who call themselves leftists. And it's really weird to me. It's really weird to me that you have one trans creator who happens to like break in and make it. Keep in mind, make it is really, really, really a stretch, because Contrapoints rents an apartment. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, we're talking like Steven Crowder has like fucking houses and cars and shit. He makes like a fuck ton of money. That's like actually making it. Steven Crowder has fucking wealth. Natalie is doing better than the average leftist. Absolutely. Undeniably. Financially. But she still fucking rents a home. This is not like she's been like become a billionaire overnight or anything. She's just made it a little bit. And the vitriol that she receives is so disgusting and dehumanizing and sickening. And it's mostly on Twitter, which then feeds from the vitriol generated in Twitter, feeds out to Reddit, to Twitch, to YouTube, and it fills all these comments. And honestly, it's really disgusting and disheartening and terrifying. Because what that implication means is that no matter what you do, no matter how much good you do as a trans person, no matter what, you will always be 1 inch away from people threatening your life. And guess what? It won't even be the right-wingers, because every trans person who exists publicly already gets hate from right-wingers. They already get death threats from right-wingers. They already get a constant pressure of society denying them rights from right-wingers. And then you all of a sudden have this fucking unbelievable vitriol from left-wingers too, from would-be left-wingers. And that is exhausting and terrifying and discouraging in a way that I don't think many people like to think about. And it really does disturb me, and it really upsets me, and it makes me fucking pissed as shit. Because there's one thing to critique somebody. And a lot of people up here, gonna tell yeah, I mean, feel free. I'll read out your personal story if you want. Yeah, I'll be addressing comments in chat. I'm kind of on a tear right now. Well, where was I? I don't even fucking remember. The problem is, oh yeah, there are inevitably people literally I've literally offered very minor pushback to critique of Contra that I thought was incredibly toxic. And I said, hey, this feels really toxic to me. Maybe we shouldn't be so incredibly harsh on a trans creator who is obviously doing their best. And you know what? People compare her to Blair White, which is like, Blair White advocates for right-wing shit every single day. What are you fucking talking about? Do you see where I'm talking about, where it's like, it's maddening uncharitability, where I'm like, where is the rationality here? Where is the ability to say, hey, this is really fucked? Where is the left going, hey, yeah, she has a platform and has an impact, and that means you have responsibility, but it doesn't matter what level of platform or responsibility you have with regard to whether you should be receiving fucking death threats from people in your own goddamn audience. That's pretty fucked up, isn't it? It's pretty fucked up. And people will respond to that like, oh, you just don't want to criticize. You just want to stan. I don't even fucking watch Contrapoints' videos anymore. But as a trans person, I recognize that there's something really fucked up by the fact that this shit happens predominantly to people of marginalized position. But it isn't just them. But we do get the fucking brunt of it. And it almost sometimes feels like a lot of people, and this includes my fellow trans people, they project all of their hopes and dreams onto one creator because this society has limited us to that. This society has only allowed there to be like a handful of trans people who are successful. And so people put all of their hopes and dreams on that person. And then they go, if you fuck up, I'm going to flip out because you failed me. You failed the impossible standard that I held for you. And so what I'm trying to say here is that the individuals of the collective left online need to get fucking better about this shit. Stop it. Just fucking hold back your reactionary tendencies and learn to do a little bit of a think before you fucking tweet. Because there are 100 ways that you can fairly critique Contrapoints' giant video if you want to. Any person could record a clip just like me. You don't even need to have a camera. You can go onto one of the 100 free sites. You could even write an essay. We all have access to these tools. Or I should say, not everyone does, but anyone who has access to a Twitter also has access to Medium or WordPress or YouTube or SoundCloud. Holy shit. Now, there's some people racing outside, apparently, so. Welcome home, Purple Purpur. Yeah, but Flowery Jane, here's the thing. This is something that's kind of, that I've been thinking about a lot. Partially because I'm going to be 30 this year. you know, which is a big deal for me, I guess. I mean, it's not a big deal. I used to be more scared of it than I am, but it's a big number for a lot of people. I'm going to be 30 this year. I've been involved in trans discourse across multiple websites for 10 years, and I've seen this in every single space, I've been in. This has been a problem in every single space that I've been in. And the one factor, I mean, there's two factors that compound. One is the websites are designed to promote engagement over anything else, which makes the vitriol even worse. And two, people who are engaging in political activism on that site, people who consider themselves political actors, who want to have political opinions, do not do the due diligence necessary to actually have meaningful and not just harmful political opinions. If you want to be a right-winger who just says whatever bullshit comes to mind, and you want to just indulge in conspiracy theories and indulge your childish urge to feel threatened by anything that's different to you, be a right-winger. Go join right-wing Twitter. If you're going to be a leftist, you should at the very least be able to understand that we have to put scrutiny. We have to do due diligence, or else discourse will never improve. We will just be slinging shit at each other. Let me read Zarel's comment here real quick. Zarel, so about a year back, another trans woman and a friend of hers made a joke about assaulting me during a time when we were pitted against each other by just saying, "Watch me commit a hate crime, lol." The trans woman and I are on better terms now, but told me that from a point of thinking that it was funny while simultaneously saying she supported me for being trans. Sometimes the worst enemy of the trans community is other trans people for the dangerously toxic or insensitive things they engage in. Yes. You know, there's a game called Bloodborne that I talk about a lot. Do you know, everybody here in the chat has probably heard of Bloodborne. One of the lines in Bloodborne, seek pale blood to transcend the hunt. Now that doesn't translate exactly, but we do need to recognize that we need to transcend the hunt. We will never build a healthy trans community. We will never build a healthy left community greater if we don't recognize that we have to transcend the base instincts that drive us into reactionary behaviors. I am very serious about this. I know it sounds silly because it's Twitter or whatever, and yes, we should all collectively take Twitter a little bit less seriously if we can. But there are certain things that are just factually serious about Twitter. People make their careers on Twitter. People who have no other access, like myself, or even arguably Contrapoints, who don't have the ability to just jump into every regular career because they're trans, because that's not how it works when you're trans, pursue a career on YouTube teaching people things, and then we end up with death threats. Even if you disagree with Contrapoints, do you really think that anything that she said is worthy of a death threat? If not, then I think there should be more Contra stands around. People who are... But you know what instead I see? And here's where my mind blows up again. Here's where I start to lose it again. Because this weekend, a new Contrapoints video comes out, and the first thing I see is my entire timeline filling with, oh my god, that reactionary lib Contrapoints has posted another video. I wonder what hate speech she's gonna say this time. Lol. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's just what we do now. I guess that's just what we are. I guess we just do the exact same shit that we do that fucking right-wingers do. Is we don't give any credence. We don't fucking make an attempt to understand. We just say fuck it. Here's a hot take. Ready? Most people who are mad at Contrapoints aren't actually mad about any fucking political opinion that she has. They're mad because they're fucking jealous. I am not kidding you. If you don't think that a bunch of people on left Twitter is full of a lot of marginalized and hurting and traumatized people, you know? A lot of us are, and hurting and whatever, and we're all doing our best to make it out of there. That's most of the world. I wouldn't even say that's unique to left Twitter, but it is particularly unique to left Twitter, because what brings you to a leftist perspective in a lot of cases is having a very tough life where you realize that the systems don't serve you the way they say they're supposed to, right? That makes sense. I think that's a pretty uncontroversial statement to make. With that in mind, a lot of people see Contrapoints' comparative success to themselves, and they go, she isn't struggling with her bills anymore, that means she's the enemy. But that is not what that means. That's not what that means at all. We should not, and this is an incredibly common opinion, where Contrapoints and other creators, not just Contrapoints, all kinds of creators are dehumanized because they are perceived to have some form of success. And it is parasocial. It is absolutely parasocial, because I guarantee you that none of the people who penned up a 30-tweet thread about how Contrapoints was a problematic, transphobe, reactionary, lib bullshit, whatever else you want to fucking buzzwords you want to throw out, whatever accusations you want to throw out without merit, I bet none of those fucking people, fuck. God, this makes me so mad. Holy shit. I don't even remember where I was going with that point. I'm going to be completely honest. I lost track of my own brain thought. People are struggling, and they see that. I remember where I was going. Thank you. Thank you, brain. You're a little bit late there. What I was going to say is none of these people know Contrapoints. They don't know jack fucking shit about her life. It's just a fucking fact. They think they do. They think they know this, that, and the other thing, but you have no idea. For all you know, all of the money from her fucking channel could be going into paying for fucking cancer therapy. So, yeah. I can't help but feel that the online left is failing on Twitter so epically that it actually makes me a little doomer to even log on to Twitter these days. I go onto Twitter and I go, oh my God, if I didn't know you people outside of Twitter, I would hate you all. And that's pretty fucked up, isn't it? Isn't it pretty fucked up when the state of discourse gets to that level? And especially when it's so charged. All I'm going to say is, and maybe this is a hot take. Maybe you guys will think this is a hot take. I don't know. Maybe Twitter's going to find this a hot take. Who knows? Maybe somebody will clip me, and then they'll turn this into something, and they'll cancel me, and I'll just get obliterated, and nobody will know about it. We'll all be fucking dead in 10 years. Who cares, right? It doesn't matter. Like, we're just doing whatever. It doesn't fucking give a shit. I'll just do whatever I feel like at any given moment, right? I don't know. All I'm saying is, maybe before ostensible leftists or even ostensible political actors engage in incredibly uncharitable or incredibly severe accusations, like, for example, I think calling a trans person transphobic is something that should be reserved. Like, that is a large claim which requires a large amount of evidence. One Twitter thread and one video, or even two videos, is not enough for you or anybody fucking else to conclude that a trans woman is transphobic. So shut the fuck up. Seriously. Just stop. The online left needs to learn how to shut the fuck up. Let me read some of the comments so I can cool down a little bit. Let's see. I'm going to go back. Yeah. Zarel, I'm really sorry you had to deal with that. I find that very disturbing, and I find that the level of rhetoric that people are willing to engage in against other marginalized people online is pretty fucked. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone, mind you, is above these things. I think I have the evidence and the substantiation to make a claim about someone like Blair White, who spends every single day of her life advocating for right-wing anti-trans positions. Or I should say trans-medicalist positions, because she's not technically anti-trans as a whole. Just, you have to be the right type of trans in her book. I don't think that's an uncharitable claim, because there's the evidence to back it up. Videos upon videos upon videos upon videos upon essays upon videos. You can find the evidence. But calling fucking Contrapoints transphobic, which is a common thing that I see, by the way. I see this constantly. It's absurd, and it's stupid, and it's wasteful. All right, let's read some comments. I know, I keep saying I'm going to calm down, and then I don't. I know, it's almost like I'm completely angry. It's almost like I'm fucking malding right now. I am. It's true. Zanzi says, I'm developing the idea of the battlefield and the triage spaces. Many unmarked spaces are on the vanguard of social conflicts. Triage spaces exist and overlap these spaces to act as spaces of acceptance for marginalized groups. But these triage spaces are often field camps on the battle line, so you have full combatants ready to fight sitting next to a deeply fragile person who needs love and support. You can't escape the conflict since your triage space exists in a conflict zone. Yeah, and here's the thing, though, and you're right, but we are building these spaces. We are building these spaces, and we have a responsibility, every one of us, even me, 25 viewer Angie here. We all have a responsibility to say, oh shit, why do we have a hospital built in the middle of a battlefield? We should move this. We should not, we should make spaces that are explicitly safe spaces where you don't talk about fucking crazy politics shit. And then we have Twitter, unironically though, Twitter is a mess. Twitter is an unbelievable mess. You literally can't control who your tweets go to. Your tweet could be retweeted at any day by some absolutely unhinged wacko whose audience full of right-wing people could blow your tweet up out of nowhere. The tools that Twitter gives you are not that. So when you go on Twitter, you need to have responsibility in the way that you engage, especially if you have a platform on Twitter. But remember that Twitter is a public forum. So you need to remember that anything that you say could be blown out and used against somebody else. And yeah, we don't make Twitter. I imagine if leftists made Twitter, that Twitter would be fucking a much better website. If it was designed not around ads, Twitter would be better. But Twitter is not. We are stuck using a very broken system. And as a result, we need to take responsibility for our actions on that broken system. Right? Keldodge says, I'd say it's some combination of jealousy, over-reliance on online relationships, including parasocial relationships, and maybe a lack of access to mental health services. It's hard to point that out because it feels kind of shitty. I'm sure you're already canceled for not hating Vaush. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Whatever. I literally don't give a shit. If tomorrow every fucking person on Twitter decided that I was the person to go into the trash bin next, whatever. I was already in the trash bin. So what difference does it make to me? I don't care. I'll just crawl back out again. I've done it 100 times. I'll do it again. Whatever. This shit is stupid and wasteful, and it doesn't, and here's the crazy thing. The people who are doing it aren't getting anything from it. Remember the old joke on 4chan, they do it for free, the mods? You know, you make fun of the mods because they do it for free. Well, fucking everyone on Twitter does this shit for free. They go and they stan. They go and they anti-stan. They go and they have fucking meltdowns where they call fellow marginalized people horrific names. They do it for free. Purple Purpur says, it sounds like people with victim complexes that feel stuck in a hole of life and seeing someone climbing out and actually being successful makes them jealous. So basically, if I am unhappy, then why should anyone else be happy? If I'm wrong, please correct me, but victim complexes left and right in politics bug me because it's always like, oh, woe is me. Everyone and everything is against me and everyone else doesn't know my struggle. I mean, I think there is some level of that, and I think some people are very compromised in that very specific way emotionally. But I don't think that's everyone because, I mean, certain things are true. People are really hurt. Like, trans people have been really hurt by really fucked up dog whistling in the past. I mean, and that's a thing that a lot of non-trans people and people who belong to other marginalized groups also can share in this understanding, which is that there is not much content that we know is not going to advocate against us, right? So if you're a trans person, you always know that right around the corner, there could be a reveal that whatever content you are enjoying in the mainstream, you know, say you like, I don't know, maybe you're watching a TV show. There is always an awareness that because the system is so stacked against you, that show could all of a sudden put in a trans episode that makes your people look like shit. And encourages the harm towards your people. And this is complicated, and you can go into specific examples, but you have to understand that a lot of people are primed to look for that, and they forget that that same type that same level of like defensive vigilance, like where you're like holding the spear, like, okay, I'm ready to get out if I have to. If this turns to shit, I'm gonna run. You know what I mean? Or I'm ready to take it down so that it doesn't harm me in the future. You have to be careful turning that towards people who are on your side. You have to be careful. Doesn't mean you can't or there's not a time for it, but you have to be careful. So it isn't just victim mentality. It's also a big part of just marginalized people of all stripes are primed to know that media could turn against them at any second. You know? Any second. And I've had this happen myself. I've been watching a show and then all of a sudden they have a trans episode where they're just making fun of a trans person. And holy shit, does that feel really, really, really horrible? And all of a sudden you don't want to watch that show anymore because it's exactly the same shit that you dealt with from your family. Completely unjustly. So I understand that. I totally understand that. Thank you for the follow, Canadarker. Much appreciated. Flowery Jane says, I don't get how leftists can be for reforms regarding punishment and how we help people change for the better, and yet they constantly act like this on Twitter. It's wild. Zizek eating from the trash bin. Thank you for the follow, vote for Joe. Much appreciated. I don't know. I think they make anything with a dot. Yeah, I vote for Joe. Hey. To be fair, this happens a lot in the disability community. Also, I noticed a stupid amount of people on Kiwi farms live with disabilities. So, good point. Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. Your identity does not preclude you from the ability to make bad takes. You know what I mean? Anybody can make a stupid take. I don't know. I think that people don't actually apply intersectionality to the things that they're talking and thinking about on Twitter. But again, Twitter encourages you to not do so. You are very tasty, Canadarker. That's good to know. Gina Ragnos says, these people act like Bearing fans. They spew a lot of vitriol towards creators that are either degrading or bad faith criticism, and then go on to podcasts or make video essays on how they were just criticizing these creators in a calm tone. Then they go back to being dicks, and the cycle repeats. And yeah, I mean, that's a part of it. But also, there's this thing where, like, something that's happened, again, I pointed to this with the Vaush drama, is that people, I literally watched, and some of them were creators, mind you, retweet a clip about a 1 minute and 14 second clip of Vaush from a video game stream where he did a off the cuff debate with a caller and was very careful to discuss the difference between what he's critiquing and what some people might perceive another way. And that was immediately turned into a opportunity to just spend a weekend calling Vaush racist and then also spin off onto all kinds of other really, really vague but ultimately related vitriol. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's healthy for anyone. I don't think that it helps any part of the left, including the people who are doing it. And guess what? It doesn't even fucking build their audiences because Twitter is shit. Do I support identity politics? Of course. You cannot come to an understanding of the world without understanding identity politics. Identity politics and an understanding of class, boom! That's how we change the world, baby. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a misunderstanding of how identity politics is supposed to help us. You know, like intersectionality and these ideas are a tool. They're like a power glove, right? We have, with the power of understanding intersectionality, we can analyze our biases and become bigger brained and come up with better, more equitable solutions. And with the power of class analysis, we can understand how systems are built against us and how we can fight against those. With our powers combined, boom, we build a better society. Boom! Idpol, identity politics is not only good, it is necessary. We will end up with a miserable state of affairs if we go forward with a reformation of the economy that does not understand identity. It would be a nightmare. An absolute and utter nightmare. Neoliberal idpol is a very specific use of idpol that essentializes people to their identity in a slightly different way than the way that right-wingers do, where if you're different, you're bad. If you're gay, you're bad. If you're trans, you're bad. You're degenerate, blah, 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 all that bullshit. Neolib idpol says, oh, you're not. But we don't care. But we don't care about anything else. We're just going to say, yeah, good job, congratulations, rainbow capitalism. It's literally the best way to understand neoliberal identity politics is what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? An equalizing of representation as the only form of identity politics. In neoliberal identity politics, all you need is to have one black drone pilot, one trans drone pilot, and one gay drone pilot, and you're all good. And you're good. You're all clear. You're in the clear. But in truth, you see the problem with that is that it doesn't acknowledge that you might choose a random black person to be the drone pilot, but every other black person, every other trans person, every other queer person is suffering because they're all impoverished. So you can't just have one without the other, or else you are not understanding the world. You are simply you are completely discounting entire axes of oppression that really do exist and really do harm people. Equivocation. Thank you. My God, my brain is just like... Zanzi says, identity politics without a class analysis is shallow and vapid. More female drone pilots is the future that liberals want. Yeah, I agree. I think it is very vapid. And also, it's a cheat. It's a misdirection. That's the whole thing. Neoliberal identity politics, specific, the type that so many people are frustrated about, the type that's like, we can publish 100 articles about manspreading, but if you ever talk about the fact that there are massive wealth inequalities because between white people as a class and black people as a class, is because many of the richest white people in the world literally have inherited money that they made by owning slaves. You're not allowed to talk about that in neoliberal identity politics. You're not allowed to you see, you only are able to talk about the most shallow interpretation of it. Only one thing. Oh, it's really mean when people are say something mean to me or do an action. And some of those things are valid. Some of those things are actually valid critiques, but they are used as a misdirection to turn you away from a bigger conversation, which is that synthesis, saying, hey, class and identity, and I mean, class is an axis of identity, by the way, just so you know. Intersectionality really does include all of it. Yeah, the Oppression Olympics is a comment on how, yeah, exactly, Zanzi. The Oppression Olympics is a comment about how neoliberal idpol unfolds. Only many of those giving out about it didn't realize it was a neoliberal problem. Yeah, yes, I agree with you. The Oppression Olympics is exactly how neoliberal forms of identity politics unfold. The goal is to create hierarchy again and to cause people to argue with each other meaninglessly about who is more oppressed, when in reality we're all in a pretty bad we're in a pretty bad place, and if we listen together and work together, we actually would have success, which requires give and take on all sides. You see what I mean? Cis people need to come to understand trans people. Trans people need to trans people and gay people need to come to understand, because there are heterosexual trans people. Homosexual people need to come to understand transsexual people. It's a, you've seen the drawings, right? It's about axes of oppression. It's not about comparing who's got it the worst. It's about fixing all of them. It's about fixing all of these axes that are harming all of us. And identifying who are the actors who are actually reinforcing those. Not accidentally, but intentionally. Not just accidentally, I should say, but also intentionally. Vote for Joe says, yes, but don't you think identity politics can be used to cause racial tension and stereotyping individuals simply because they are within a particular racial or ethnic group? Of course. By definition, of course you could use it that way. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's a very simple understanding of it. Like, the idea that people vote based on their race, for example, implies that everyone in that race thinks exactly the same way. It's essentially putting that entire group in a box. It's stereotyping and kind of racist, actually. I mean, if you take it that far, but that's not what anybody here is talking about. That's not what an actual analysis of identity politics is. An actual analysis of identity politics would be something like, hey, a lot of like a lot of black people are impoverished. Why are they impoverished? Well, they're impoverished because their parents were impoverished and were unable to give them any wealth. Those people were impoverished because their grandparents were fucking slaves and didn't have any wealth. So how do we fix this problem? See, that is an analysis of identity politics that isn't neoliberal. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to use it for individuals. You're not supposed to look at an individual and go, let me break out my Pokédex, my Idpoledex. That's stupid. That's not what I don't know. It's like trying to use a hammer to put in a screw, right? Like, an analysis of identity helps explain systemic phenomenon that can be reinforced by our actions. And then we can say, okay, we understand this, so how do we make a move as a society, as a collective? What can individuals do to move the collective in a different... I'm sorry. What can individuals do to move the collective in a different direction? And that is the thing. But the idea that you're going to write off identity politics entirely is foolish. It's really foolish. It's like saying that you would. It's like saying you throw out gravity because boats can float on water, and not realizing that there might be other things that are standing in the way of your understanding of gravity, like, I don't know, hydro pressure or hydrologic pressure. I don't know. Yeah, we have. Oh, don't worry. Don't you worry. We have plenty of palate cleansers. We got some Elon Musk cringe to get into. But okay, before I move on though, does anybody in the audience, because we got a lot of viewers here. We got 30 people. Is what my stats on Twitch are showing. Thank you all for being here today, by the way. Oh, hey, here we go. An imperfect parallel, but this comment on black feminism can be reworded to talk about identity. Here, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at this quote, and I'll share it here. Let me switch over to the other camera angle. Here we go. Black feminism is a school of thought which argues that sexism, class oppression, gender identity, and racism are inextricably bound together. The way these concepts relate to each other, the way these concepts relate to each other is called intersectionality. The term intersectionality theory was first coined by legal scholar Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989. Yes, exactly. I mean, but it's not so simple as there are pros and cons to identity politics. Identity politics is a lens of analysis. Identity politics is one frame of looking at the world. You know how like you have like camera angles in a movie? Well, identity politics is one of those cameras. And you might have another camera. You might have another camera. There are all these different ways to analyze the world. But to throw one out completely means you are missing an entire analysis of the world, and you're going to come to flawed conclusions. Hey, Cuckfapitalism, good to see you. So it's not so much about there being pros and cons to identity politics, although I imagine that that's a way you could frame it. I don't personally choose to frame it that way. Because I think that it's more it is more conducive to a wholesome understanding of identity politics to realize that identity politics is one of the multiple frames that you can use the sort of camera angles that you can use to analyze our politics. Yay! Well, good to have you by. You just missed me. If you just came in now, you just missed me absolutely screaming for like an hour and a half. But we're going to do some fun stuff in a little bit. Before we go any further, chat, you motherfuckers, there's a whole bunch of you in here. I'm still angry, so if you have any questions or things you want my opinion on that has to do with this drama, you better ask it now while I'm still angry, because once we go into Elon Musk mode, I'm making fun of Elon Musk and nothing else. So this is your chance. You. Yeah, you. That's right. I'm pointing at you, viewer. If you have a question or a contention or some bullshit you want to get out of your system at me, do it now. Do it. Do it fucking now. I'm watching you. I'm watching the chat right now. Here, let's go back to the big angle. Look, now you can see me in all my angry glory. The pressure is too much.